Did you know that 76% of startup founders are experiencing burnout while scaling their company? In today's episode, we review how the mind-body connection become your competitive edge, helping you to break through the growth plateau when traditional business strategies are failing.
Welcome to Provider's Edge, the podcast that helps healthcare entrepreneurs and innovators break down barriers and control their business, life, and future with valuable action steps. With me, your host, Sabrina Runbeck, a recovered clinician and a business deal catalyst. Let's rewrite the rules and create a positive social impact while increasing your profitability. So excited today. We have Hannah joining us, the founder of My Institute Health, is an intuitive wellness and culinary coach who integrates emotional intelligence, holistic nutrition, and cooking to help high-performance professionals and teams to reconnect with their most aligned selves. Her mission is to infuse fun into the health and self-growth journey by crafting embodied experiences that promote physical, emotional, and energetic alignment. And she leads mind-body cooking programs and culinary wellness retreats in Italy and Greece that allow participants to step into a lighter version of themselves. And she is trained in human psychology, transformational coaching, energy work, Eastern medicine, and culinary art, and healed her gut from Crohn's disease through food. Now, we know the movement now has been, how do we see nutrition as medicine instead of feeling like we have to pop drugs and all drugs have side effects. And I feel like in medicine, we have misconception or true adverse effect versus allergy. And then sometimes our patients coming in with a long list of, oh, I'm allergic to everything. And then we're like, oh, how do we help you, right? And instead of how do we leverage food to connect back into the physical part of our body, the mindset of how do we create, especially as you mentioned, and then very much aligned is that joy, the fun part of ourselves, as well as that spiritual, energetic side of connecting mind, body, soul. And I think we align in a lot of ways because when we help health and wellness companies to build is that each person have a mind, body, soul, and each company also have a mind, body, soul. And you do it so well by introducing food, nutrition into that journey. So Hannah, I know you've been doing a lot of fun stuff. How did you narrow down of all the things, right? Truly figure out nutrition is something that you want to focus on to help people to improve their wellness journey through food.
Yeah. So feels like a lifelong journey. You know what I mean? Like I've always been a foodie from a really young age. I had a connection to food and flavors. I knew what went well together. I loved being in the kitchen. I would be mesmerized by Food Network on the TV, and I loved it. And then when I was 12, I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And so I had to go on my own healing journey of really discovering what foods would help to heal my gut, because the doctors were going to have to do surgery and I really didn't want that. And so that's when I started diving into gut health and what foods would promote a healthy gut. But at the same time, as I just mentioned, I'm a huge foodie. And so I also had to dive into how can I bring harmony into this way of eating? How can I bring balance into this way of eating so I don't feel suffocated and restricted? Because I was on a restrictive diet for so long and it just didn't work for me. Like it worked on a physical level, but on an emotional and soul level, I was starved. And so I created my own Intuitive Health, which is the name of my business, by adding things back in that really satiated me on a different type of level. And bringing in that energy of joy back into food helps so much for your gut, because the mind-gut connection is so real. And so if you're in a state of rigidity eating foods, even if they're perfectly healthy, which I'm doing quotes because there is no such thing as perfect, your body will feel that rigidity and that restriction. And so my aim in the virtual classes that I do with people is to paint a new experience where they don't have to be in rigidity. They can eat healing foods combined with flavor and flexibility so that it really hits all notes of vibrancy, of joy, of freedom, and they get to create more harmony within themselves. And cooking that's how I started my business, is because it's where I'm most relaxed. Like, I love talking about food. I can talk about food all day long. And for me, it was just a vessel to hold space for people and to help them and train to this higher frequency around food.
Yeah. For us, right before we went live, we were talking about me going to Bali for the past 2.5 weeks for vacation over the holidays, and how they also customize that food journey as an experience. And I think that's what I love the most, is the interactiveness of this. It's not just food, it's not just presentation, right? It's not just taste. It's how do you create an experience while you interact with food. And I think it's in anything that we build for business with patients, whether you're in a clinical front line or you have a product service that can help the clinicians or patients to make their life better, everything is still an experience. And how do you create that experience is what you bring people in. And once they experience so well, right, then they will become a champion to continue to talk about it. But if the experience wasn't holding their attention that much, it wasn't getting, or they have so high expectation and you weren't delivering, and that misalignment of expectation, I think it shifts as we go through life, as we make our choices of what's okay, what's not okay. So with food, to me, it's when we talk about becoming a foodie, I think that's the key thing, is we want to enjoy the food in the setting where it brings us, right? With the catering, with the presentation. And some people are really great chefs at home. And then some people are just love to go out to eat, right? Not necessarily that they don't know how to cook. So choices become an important topic when we discuss, especially you have Crohn disease, be able to use medicine as food to not create inflammatory changes. I have very sensitive gluten allergy. So for me, even that's really difficult, right? Like, and some of my friends like, you're a bad Asian. How could you not eat like rice and like noodles and things like that? But I'm like, you know what? Fermentation of soy and all of them pretty much have gluten. Very seldomly you can make those right choices. And then I had patients and family members who would just say, oh, I don't care. I'm just going to eat everything and then take medicine afterwards, right? So how do you come back when people have that internal debate of you just give into the pain or the suffering, but I'm having the front end enjoyment, versus some of us are pretty delicate, right? Like very aware of what upset us. And then so in the front decision, we're more careful when making those decisions.
Yeah. Well, every person is super different. So I strongly encourage everyone to honor what their body is saying, because it's different for everyone. But one of the things that you mentioned is experience. And I love to create experiential experiences for people where they are actually going through the motion. So I'm not just sitting there telling them this is healthy, this is not healthy, eat this, don't eat that. They're actually in their kitchen. They get the ingredients and they get the recipe and shopping list before the class. They show up with the ingredients and we go through it step by step together. So they have the chance for themselves to create the lived experience. One, to see what feels good for them, what tastes good for them, and two, to start embedding that ritual and that routine and that habit through their subconscious, because the body remembers it on a somatic cellular level. And so it's a lot more easy to replicate that habit of, say, cooking a healthy dinner when your body has gone through it, because it's stored in your brain and more easily accessed. And so I bring people through a 5-step process that is a structure for them to start with an intuitive health routine of foods that they know make them feel good physically, while also adding in flavor and routine and flexibility. So it's almost like a structure for their intuition around food, because intuitive eating, that can feel a little overwhelming for people, myself included. And so intuitive health and this blueprint gives them a framework for that, so they can kind of start to build their own catalog of what feels good for them, because it is different for every person. And maybe they'll notice that, oh, this type of food doesn't make me feel that good. And maybe that wasn't worth it to feel this way. But this type of food that we made in the class, oh my gosh, it feels so good. It tastes so good. I'm going to make that next time. And it's just kind of that ebb and flow and balance of self-discovery.
Hannah and I have been discussing this critical thing about how personalization applies equally to wellness and business strategy. We understand growth has to be individualized and personalized, and how each person's needs is uniquely applied to their nutrition, their health, and as well as how they think about what it means for them to go into such powerful spot for the entire company to be synchronized, to be helpful, to be in flow. Now, it is hard when we have to put different people's talents, their mindset, their personal preferences, how they even interpret information all into one place. And that's why you have people like us from Postpoint, what's called the leadership maximizer. We're putting everything into a 5-dimensional view. Even you think about health is mind, body, soul connection, and business has those mind, body, soul component of intellectual property, the physical side, the social capital, how they're expanding the dying and become a necessity, not just a good to have solution, as well as the soul, the spiritual side of the company, which is their culture and people. The right talent has to be able to be put in the right role so they can lead, so they can implement. Otherwise, people always feel like they're wearing 5-10 different hats and getting nowhere. And multiple meetings later, they're still talking about it and nothing's done. Now, we observe countless of these founders struggling for this, whether their co-founder is about to leave them versus a investor coming in and realizing that infrastructure is really not there and they want to hire someone else to help them along. But then people feel like, oh my gosh, I'm worried about my own job or position, this company that we built and puts our heart and sweat in. Not necessarily is about removing people from what they do, it's actually shifting them into more of a desire area, more tasks and management and things that are truly in our desire zone, not just this labored, I just have to do it and no one else can do type of mentality. So the key insight here is to find a sweet spot where your expertise and interest intersect what energizes you. And that is truly your desire zone. And we also have to find that for every single person, that's your immediate connection. Like Zig Ziglar says, you're the 5 person you're closest to. That means on any type of team, whether it's for leadership or implementation, whether it's in your home team versus business team, everyone has to be in their desire zone and complementing each other and integrating with each other. So when founders operate from that zone, rather than forcing themselves into a rigid framework that feels heavy, their companies naturally thrive and scaling become more suitable.
Yeah, it's definitely a customized thing for each person, right? We all have our preferences, belief system, what we can do that's easy for us. Mm-hmm. And even when we build business and just use marketing, for example, right? There are 20 plus different ways you can market yourself.
Oh my gosh, totally.
You should do all of them, right? And then It doesn't mean one method that works so well with that person, it's good for you, because perhaps for us, we're easy on camera, we're a good speaker because it comes from years of experience, and then we do it more because we like it. Now, other people, they're camera shy, they're really good at writing, then perhaps you are more better at content creation and then just knowing what to create at what platform lens-wise, right? And then so knowing each person's expertise and what you do really well and enjoy doing and customize it into that way of moving forward is a very important thing. However, if we don't get ourselves out there at all, right? We don't put ourselves to say, hey, let me try that. Let me create a plan for my dietary, right? See how I feel about this, or create something similar into a business that perhaps is not exactly what you thought it could be. But if you haven't tested that yet, you really don't know. So sometimes it's playing that game of let's create a customized plan and see how it works, right? Give yourself a few weeks or some type of time frame that make you feel good, that you gain reward from it. And if it's not, we always have the belief system we can pivot and change, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I truly believe that joy is the integral part of not only health, but everything, business and the way you live life. Like joy should be woven in. And in fact, if something feels heavy or forceful or rigid, it's out of alignment. And there are ways that you can shift it to bring in more ease and joy around it, because when you're in joy, you're in your alignment. And I love that you talked about business strategy, because I gave a presentation yesterday on cooking as your next business strategy. And it's the same thing. Like there's so many strategies in business. It's so inundated. And so like what it all comes down to is really your own energy and your own alignment as the ultimate business strategy to, give you the clarity as to what works for you and really nurture that mental, physical, and energetic alignment.
Right. And in the innovation startup world, definitely it can be a little bit more difficult because you're going to have yourself as founder, CEO. Perhaps you're not even the CEO. You're going to have partners that are taking into the marketing lead, the COO, right? And perhaps you have some board members that are advisories for you. But at the end of the day, the more that you have people on your team, the more conversation you have to say who is actually leading this specific domain, right? And if the person who's leading, then you have to line all the strategy that matches that person's expertise, joy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fun of what they create. And it's not all fun, no gain, right? One of the things that I always talk about productivity is you have your desire zone that's both things you do for fun and you're really good at, right?
Yeah.
But if you're going into the distraction zone, it's only fun, but you don't truly have the skill set. You just like, oh, this seems to be like, let me just dabble on this, right? Like for some people, it's like, I'll write my own email automation. It's like, and then versus other people, it's like, they're so good at something. Perhaps it's tracking data. But if you are so into the numbers of data, you forgot what truly move things forward is for you to go out, pitch for your company, get the connection that you need. So then you're actually not focusing on the right thing, right? And you might be really good at data and analysis, but if you spend too much time, guess what? Things become draining, right? You don't really have fun anymore. Mm-hmm. And then the worst thing is when people say, I'm just obligated to do. Then they have no joy, right? No skill. They're just cranking things more and more. And that's when we have to think about how can we make that final part to delegate, to automate, right? And then what does that even look like? And for all of us, especially when you come out of the gate, right? If you haven't truly hit multiple 7-8 figure, sometimes it does feel like you're carrying on your entire way of your business mm-hmm. or your entire organization when you are leading these larger organization. It's finding that harmony in how do you feel more healthy? How do you have more joy? Mm-hmm. Whether that's through food in our specific conversation or through other activities to reconnect. I think can be challenging at times, but very rewarding if you can take that time to actually analyze where you need to be. Now, I know one of the things that, Hannah, you do really well is bringing people to retreats. And then also that's one of the things we love to do. It's that you create those experiences, right? And then your retreats are in Greece and Italy. Tell us more about those experiences and what are some of the goals and why people really should do a retreat instead of learning everything just in the safety and the known environment of where they are.
Some people might feel like a retreat is just a way to unplug yourself from everything else. Instead, the concept of retreat can be used as a strategic business tool, especially for tech founders, as well as those who are already leading medium to large size of organization. When we're able to remove ourselves from the day-to-day or even just a home environment, like the studies have done by taking people into nature, and they see that heart rate variability increases, it improves sleep, circadian rhythm, despite people even with PTSD. So we know when we're in a more optimized environment of nature and building the capacity to allow you to be more creative, to be in the zone that is your desired zone, then everything becomes more likely to fall in place. You have the space to think, to create, and you have the health to match up to the need of that creativity, as well as the lightness and joy that comes from your internal self, aligning what you're meant to be in this amazing human with a purpose. And therefore, we can create the right strategy that matches your need and the needs of your company. It's all about removing ourselves from the constant digital noise and familiar environment. We create space for breakthrough, thinking that's simply not possible in daily operation. This is why business retreats for what we do in Costa Rica is so impactful for leaders to scale past the initial early stage of revenue and literally improves different cognitive behavior. And we've seen sales are able to increase and up to 37%, as well as the retention rate has been elevated by at least 40%. And then we're seeing we can also cut down the way that people are hung up on decisions. Can you imagine if you can make decisions 3 times faster than you can do it right now? Then how quickly can you get to the result instead of just talk about it and debate about it? So the parallel with what Hannah is also offering, which is a bit different from ours, is she focused on the culinary experience, which is also very fascinating. Both offers a very immersive experience that helps leaders step into a lighter version of themselves. At the end of the day, the real magic happens when they return to their companies with renewed clarity and purpose, ready to implement strategies that align with both their business goals and personal well-being.
Yeah, so I obviously have a really holistic approach to life, to health, to all the things. And one of the foundations is bringing joy into health. Like I help people do that really well. But then the other foundation is just bringing joy into their life, because especially for business owners and for leaders, it's like, what's the point of having a business if you're not having fun, you know? And so like, I like to think that I help people create a romance with their life through cooking and through retreats so that they can really reap all the sweetness that life has to offer. And so I bring people I bring people to these exotic, like luxurious places in serene locations. And my next one is in Calabria, Italy, and it's for women entrepreneurs and CEOs next November. And the whole point of it is to give these high power women space to just breathe and to come back into themselves and connect with other like-minded women, and to infuse joy back into the process. Like if anything is feeling stuck or heavy, or they just they're kind of in autopilot and they want to get to their next level, both mentally and successfully, and being on the coast of Italy, like ripped out of your environment, surrounded by this like pure blissful experience, really helps to do that. They entrain to the frequency of joy. And again, it's not me telling them this is how you go have fun. It's them actually submerging themselves in such a fun experience. And so what that looks like on my retreats is we do hands-on cooking classes with world-renowned chefs in the local country, just to get a little playful and like get out of our heads and into our bodies, and really bring back that inner creativity and just get to taste like dish after dish after dish. And then we also do intentional alignment coaching sessions led by me, which I love. And it's really just helping people get present to what they desire, and in turn, shedding anything that's not in resonance with that may be weighing them down. And then the other part is just like pure bliss. And so we do cocktail parties, we go to wineries, we go to day trips, we go to farm to table restaurants, and really just bringing in that community and that connection piece into the self-growth journey in a way that it's like they leave the retreat feeling like the lightest version of themselves that they've met, and just a really full heart and clear, inspired intentions that they can then bring back and pour into their work.
Yeah, exactly. Is that when we remove ourselves from what's known, what's safe, then we are actually not feeling so restrained to discover who we are. So even for us, that's one of our focus, is that we do business retreats in Costa Rica. It's about when we found multiple studies have shown heart rate variability actually improves, and that's correlated with health when we're in the nature. And even for people who has PTSD, have shown to sleep better, to have more awareness without the light pollution, the noise pollution, the everything beeping of your phones. That's like everyone's asking you to do something for them, technically. So having those experiences, whether for you is that self-discovery journey through food, through these amazing experiences, versus us doing from that business side, how do you create the best winning strategy going forward for the next 6 months to a year? It helps people to create a space that they need, because they're in a different spot that they can feel a little lighter, right? Instead of this heavy weight of doing more. Now they're allowing themselves to take on a view that's bigger than what they even noticed. And then you can be more intentional and strategic about what ought to happen going forward. And then when you connect it with the rest of your team, that become a lot more amplified than what you can actually do at home when the distraction is endless. So we definitely love what Hannah's doing. We definitely promote people for going to retreats of a different sort, depending on what your goals are, to really look into how you can gain back that space, health, and joy to your life as well as the business. Now, we can talk about things all day long. We're just very connected through this mind, body, soul of what health is. And then most of the time, I believe when we're in the business of delivering health, whether it's a product, a service, and coaching and connection, even just data transfer, right? Because data help analyze processes and help us make a better clinical decision. Even that, at the end of the day, what we're selling is better health, right? Better quality of life. And if we don't embody that, guess what? Then we become the hypocrite of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And there are plenty healthcare professionals that are overweight as well. And then back in the day, you see plenty of them are also on the corner smoking, right? They're not in body health. So as business owners, we also have to be in the top tier of our own health to be able to promote health.
Right. Yeah. And I really, really believe like if you thrive, your business thrives. Like it really is success from the inside out, like not just for an integrity reason, but also just for a pure sustainability reason. Like your business is such a reflection of you. And so if you're thriving, if you're nourishing yourself, you're at your top game, you're more connected, you're more tapped into your intuition, you're stronger, you have more vibrancy, and that radiates out of you and it radiates out of your business.
Right. And that's part of the culture that you're also building. I think sometimes as the leaders, the misconception is always, hey, I have these core values. All my team just need to know it. And then we should optimize them. But not knowing everyone is looking up to you. If you're not clear, if you're not at the best shape or condition, you can't think as clearly, as fast, as empathetic, passionate, activated as who you are. And then how do you lead the rest of people who are trying to follow your vision, catalyze what you want to create, right? It's actually slowing down the entire system. So we have to take from the top down perspective, not the bottom up, and really reverse the traditional thinking of just someone else need to be better. We need my team to be on the top of their game. But really it starts with all of us who are already leaders in the industry to be able to create that entire sustainable culture for everyone. Mm-hmm. And I so appreciate you joining us. I know I'm definitely going to have a lot amazing more conversation as we go forward. So everyone who hasn't checked out Hannah, make sure you follow, discover what she's up to when she runs these virtual events, as well as her in-person ones. And if you do have a similar experience to share with her, please reach out to her. Hannah, what's the best way for people to follow you?
Yeah, so my website is myintuitivehealth.com. Same with my Instagram, or you can also just do my name, Hannah McKitrick, on Instagram. And I'd love to connect with anyone.
Perfect. Appreciate your time, everyone. We would love to hear what you thought about today's conversation. Perhaps you're already on this amazing food as a medicine journey. Perhaps you already is in the transformative way of thinking about your mind, body, soul connection with your business. Mm-hmm. Tell us those stories. We would love to have a dialogue. You guys know I'm always on LinkedIn, so pin me there. Until next time. Bye, guys.
What fascinates me most about my conversation with Hannah is how directly the mind-body connection impacts human performance for healthcare founders. Now, we know in how we approach building co-founders and their executive team is way beyond the mind-body connection. We have a 5-dimensional view of adding into what is your physical, yes, how you're naturally born, move, how your body even just deflates when things are frustrating to you or you're extremely exhausted and stressed or tired. And then connect to what your mind is helping you or sabotaging you, which is the study by positive psychology and cognitive behavior. But then we know that even when we can identify, if we don't reset ourselves in our physical body, then it's hard to train ourselves out of the mental side of body. So it's all about awareness of multiple aspects. So then what else? Why sometimes even people saying they have the same personality type and grow up the same way and they almost move the way, right? Like they're very flexible and whatnot, still having difficulty. Is because they are not having the same underlying purpose. So it's really crucial that we look at each co-founder, founder, executive team anybody who's actually making somewhat of a decision or advisory into those companies, how each person's deepest purpose and value align with what they set out to make this company is. Because who you are as an individual person and who you are as a leader of this company, most time it is aligned, but sometimes can be slightly offset. So how do we make sure that everything still feels good and in flow? And then we can look into your skill set, the things that you train yourself to be so good at, whether you're a detailed planner or an implementer can take the detailed plan to do, or really the big picture thought leader who's always innovating and finding gaps. But at the end of the day, we also need to have a champion for you. If nobody is helping to be your microphone, then we are becoming just good to have, not a must have. And then at the end of the day, the fifth dimension is bring everything together energetically of how do you create a resilient being and resilient company. That's the ultimate measure of human capital to determine whether this company will be sustainable in a long run. So whatever your business is, finding the joy, finding alignment is non-negotiable, and having your own health, as we're promoting health in the healthcare space, so we're not becoming a hypocrite. And we have to be able to have that space and not put ourselves into a pressure cooker to truly be the best and the better than the best. The science confirms that we are intuitively know nature improves cognitive function and heart rate variability, literally enhancing our decision-making capacity. So for all the health tech founders facing scaling challenges, plateauing, or you've been having great movement, but just not quite there yet, then your personal well-being and how you build your own resilience and the entire company need to be integrated. And we're happy to support you every step of the way to make you thrive and flourish as the entire system. Love to hear from you. What's one personal wellness practice that has a big impact on your business performance as a healthcare leader?
Thank you for tuning in to Provider's Edge podcast. We hope you enjoy our latest episode and found the insights and tips helpful. We'd love to hear your feedback on the show and learn what topics you'd like us to cover in the future. So please take a moment to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform and let us know what you think. Your feedback is essential to help us improve the show and provide you with the content you need to take your healthcare business to the next level. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.